hope that it caught that.
Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. It is Monday, March 31st, episode 184. Matt Roy, Don Harris, Chuck Miketinac. What's up, guys? Final Four weekend is here. Final Four week.
Yeah,
Super Bowl week.
Yeah, the most exciting week in San Antonio probably all year besides Fiesta. We have VTO, Valero Texas Open, and the Final Four in the championship game on Monday. So this is going to be a hell of a week for all of us.
See how many 14-hour days we can work in a row.
Just enough to get us there.
Going on adrenaline.
For a good cause.
We will have everything on air and on time. That's what I do know. But it's going to be a really fun week. One housekeeping note, we will not have an episode on Thursday because of the crazy week that we have. I don't think any one of us will actually be in the building at 1:30 on Thursday. So we will not have an episode on Thursday. We will have one next Monday, April 7th. So everyone enjoy the Final Four and Valero Texas Open this weekend. It's going to be a really fun couple of events. Plus, VTO always gives so much back to charity. Final Four is going to be crazy this weekend. Saturday, games on Saturday and Monday, events on Sunday and Friday and Thursday, and arrivals on Wednesday. And so it's just going to be wild. So it's going to be fun. My first one. How is covering the Final Four here in San Antonio, guys?
It's a lot of fun. You know, the NCAA does a great job, and there's plenty of access to people, players, coaches, and, you know, just like the Grant Hills of the world that are walking around. And I've always really, really enjoyed covering it. It's been a lot of fun. That Final Four Friday is a good time, and there's so much going on. I didn't realize that everybody nominated for a Grammy is at that music fest. It's not just Chris Stapleton and Pitbull.
Jelly Roll.
Yeah, and Jelly Roll.
T-Pain
and the kid that the Benson Boone and Doechii and Raven Lene, all these people that were nominated and won Best New Artist and all that, they're all here.
Wow.
So it should be fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good to have the access, too. I mean, I can remember doing a one-on-one with UCLA head coach Steve Lavin. I kept thinking, when you ever do this ever again in your lifetime? And from that standpoint, it's really cool. You get a chance to see some of the movers and shakers, obviously, before, you know, a lot of these guys are going to go out and have pro careers too. And, you know, what a fantastic thing to have, you could have on your resume, right? If you're a player or a coach that you've been to a Final Four, it's pretty cool stuff.
My all-time favorite Final Four moment was a one-on-one with the one and only Ashley Judd, Kentucky fan.
I got to tell you, I'm really looking forward to hopefully meeting Jim Nantz this week. I've never met Jim Nantz before. He is an idol of mine, has been for a really long time, as he is for a lot of young, aspiring sportscasters, I'm sure. Really looking forward to meeting
I'll introduce
him
you to him, and you know what? Once he learns your name, Matt, he'll never forget it. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
Go ahead, Bob. Two episodes in a row, you guys get to see Bob Gamber walking across the camera.
It's probably not a good thing.
What's broken?
I was going to say, what broke this time?
Yeah.
Anyway, really looking forward to this week. As always, I want to remind you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, both News 4, Fox SA. Download, rate, review the podcast version if you're so inclined. One other thing before we get started, I want to shout out to my mom. Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday,
I won't say how old she is, but she's not as old as Don or Chuck, so I will say that.
Very few people living are.
Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. We do this thing in my family where we call the other person at midnight every year. So it's weird now that I live in Central Time. They're still in Pacific Time, so I still always beat my sister because I get to call my mom at midnight my time and not midnight their time. So my sister's been a loser for years.
I think the rule book needs to change. I don't think it's her birthday until it's midnight where she is.
Okay, well, my sister raised that exact point.
Yeah.
And so I called my mom at 1:50 the last couple of years, 1:50 our time. So then stayed on the phone with her for the next 12 minutes until it was.
That is legal.
So then my sister was calling my mom and she wasn't answering because she's on the phone with me. So I still won. Anyway.
That goes back to the first time I ever played fantasy football. And I had Reggie Bush on my special teams, and he had a punt return for like 99 yards. And my opponent had Reggie Bush as a running back, and the points went to both of us. And I was like, no, that's my special teams. Like he didn't run the football. Anyway, it was a big controversy, and it reminds me of your 12 o'clock snafu.
All right, well.
That's what came to mind too when
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
thinking about all the birthdays.
Change
and
the
everything.
rules to make it fit you win.
Anyway, love you, Mom.
Speaking of
Happy
winning.
birthday. Oh, yeah. I knew. What's the time? It's going to take 5 minutes for Don to talk about his bracket. Go ahead. You got 1 minute. Talk about your two great brackets in our pool.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that it was plural.
Yeah, two great brackets. He's in first and second place right now.
But I can still lose.
Yeah, I need Houston to win.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to talk all about the Final Four today. All the one seeds in San Antonio for the first time since last time they were all in San Antonio in 2008. We'll talk about the Final Four teams, these matchups, what we're looking forward to, a great weekend of college basketball, plus the Spurs, as predicted when we talked last Monday, on a 4-game losing streak now because of their brutal schedule. They've lost to the Pistons, the Cavs, the Celtics, and now the Warriors, 4 straight. It was a really bad showing last night. I think it was a 42-point loss. We'll talk about that. Some interesting comments also made by the potential future coach of the San Antonio Spurs about the current head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. So we'll talk about that. But first, I want to talk about the Final Four, of course. So Duke, Florida, Auburn, Houston all make the Final Four, the first time since 2008 that all 4 of the 1 seeds have made the Final Four. Chalk, chalk, chalk in the Sweet 16 Elite 8. What do you guys think of the tournament thus far and the matchups from this past weekend in the Sweet 16 Elite 8 that now lead to all 1 seeds in the Final Four?
You know, I'm kind of missing the great buzzer beaters and the fantastic finishes, although Tech's been involved in a couple of them, and I was shocked that they were able to give that 10-point lead up in the last 4 minutes, although you got to tip your cap to Florida. They took it from them and made big-time shots. Not surprised with all the chalk, as you say, as predicted in both my brackets, 8 for 8 in the Elite 8 and 4 for 4 in the Final Four.
Just saying, for people who predicted all 1 seeds and then got the Elite 8 right, live on the edge a little bit, all right?
I usually do.
Yeah.
But as you look at this bracket, like, I'm still going with.
You're boring.
I'm still going with in both of them. I got Florida in one and Duke in the other. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn or Houston won. They're very, very good, but this is a tournament dominated by talent, and in this new world of NIL, talent is going to win, and Duke has the most talent and size, and I think it'll win. Now, it won't be shocked if Houston wins if they shoot lights out. But it's not surprising to me what Houston did to Tennessee. Not a surprise at all. And what Duke did.
Slugfest.
Yeah, they win by 20. Duke wins by 20. Those are not a surprise by me.
Yeah, watching Duke, I mean, their length, their athleticism, and yes, they have a lot of talent, but it's amazing how well they've started to gel and play together. I mean, very unselfish team, and they can hit you in a lot of different places. And it's, just when you look over here, it's somebody over there. They're very, very impressive the way they're going right now.
To this point, has the tournament been good, bad, disappointing, underwhelming? What I guess word would you describe the tournament as thus far through 61 or 60 games of it?
Man, I don't know. I would say it's been a really good tournament. It's been really, really high level basketball. I so enjoy watching a basketball game where everybody's playing hard all the time and guarding and allowed to guard and allowed to be physical. Mm-hmm. I think it's been less than thrilling because there haven't been those March Madness moments, where somebody throws a baseball pass and wins at the buzzer. It hasn't had those moments, but the basketball has been and the coaching has been very, very high level.
Yeah, I guess disappointing only that, I really wanted Tech to punch through. I think that would have been really cool to have. As it turns out, we would have had 2 teams here. And then, you start watching a Colorado State, and, because there's a local guy playing on the Buffaloes, the Crocker kid, and, they were so close to pulling off that huge upset. So disappointing in that regard because some of the teams I was kind of pulling for, you wanted to see them punch through. But overall, these have been 4 of the biggest bullies on the block the whole year, and it's just that they're all here. I mean, these programs have proven that they were all justified in being 1 seeds, and now here they are. So I'm certainly not disappointed in that. I mean, the best teams going in are the best teams that are here.
It's just been a little devoid of thrill, I guess.
Yeah.
Like in other years, you would have teams like there was a shot in the air for UCSD against Michigan to win that game 70-69 in that case. In other years, that shot might have gone in, and we might have a little bit more, I don't know, thrill is a word, or surprise or upsets. It's a little devoid of chaos. Not a little, it's a lot devoid of chaos, which I think is turning a lot of people off. But if you're just a fan of high-level, good basketball, I agree. It's been a great tournament for that, because that Tennessee-Houston game yesterday, that's the kind of basketball I love. Just like first to 60 wins, just keep on punching and playing great defense and rotating to your guy and playing help defense and like doing all of these things that you're coached to do, and seeing it at such a high level is something that I love to see. But in terms of the layman, the casual basketball fan, might not be the best tournament for those people.
Yeah, Duke Alabama was a really good game. I mean, even though the score doesn't look like it, Alabama's a good team.
Great,
They put up a really good fight.
Oh my God, I have never seen a team. I don't think anyone has ever seen a team shoot as well as Alabama did against BYU.
Oh, that was crazy.
27 made threes, an NCAA tournament record, and they got it with the NCAA tournament record was 21. They got it with 7 minutes left in the second half.
They only saved a few of those.
Literally, they were over 50% from three. I've never seen anything like it. They scored 111 points in a 40-minute basketball game. It was unreal. And BYU scored 93.
And then you see what they do against Duke, and that goes back to the point of Duke's ability to guard and switch. And to Chuck's point, what John Shire's done there with this team and building this one-year roster, I mean, the general managers in the new world of NIL, every school's going to have like an NBA GM and an entire front office. And you look at Shire, what he saw in those. They lost in the Elite Eight last year. Mm-hmm. He went out and got Flag, which is everybody's wanted, Kneppel, a shooter, Malawach, 7'2", Bonga, 7 foot. Then Isaiah Evans, who's going to be a top 25 pick. Then he goes out and he gets from Tulane a 4-year Tulane transfer in Sion James, and the second best player after Zach Edey, I thought last year on Purdue, Mason Gillis. It's just and these seniors, this mix of transfers and true freshmen, and he's going to lose them all and have to do it again next year. It's crazy how you have to build rosters, and they've got the absolute piece for everything that you could possibly want.
Go ahead, Bob. One more time. Bob Gambert, everybody. Let's talk about each of these teams as we see them here in the Final Four. So start with Houston because it's the one that's closest to us. It's the one I know at least the best. What Kelvin Sampson has done in his time at Houston is absolutely just unreal. They had made one NCAA tournament from 1992 until he got there in 2014. Now they've made 6 Sweet 16s, 3 Elite Eights, 2 Final Fours, including this year. And yes, I'm including, if you make in a Final Four, you're obviously making a Sweet 16 and an Elite Eight. Like, it's just unreal what he has done with a program that was middling and had been forgotten about in the AAC. And now they're in the Big 12 and have hit the ground running in a new conference, which is potentially one of the best conferences in terms of college basketball and has been for a very long time.
Yeah, and he's done it differently, right? He's gotten guys to stay.
Yeah.
I think they only brought in 1 transfer, and I think they only had 1 kid leave. So, not a lot of movement going on with their roster, but they've clearly built something, and, man, we'll get after you, right? I mean, you can tell that's, whatever the coach is, that's how those kids perform for their coach.
That's such an awesome brand of basketball, too. Watching that game against Tennessee and going in, Tennessee's one of the best defensive teams in the country, too. So you knew, and the over-under on the game was 126, which is incredibly low for a college basketball game when you see 204 points scored in the Alabama and BYU game. You knew that it was going to be like first to 60 wins in this game. And the defense that they played in the first half, holding Tennessee, which is not a schlub of an offensive team, to 15 points in the first half, 1 of 15 shooting because of their rotations, because of their hard hedges, because of the help defense on the backside, because of their recoverability and getting back to their man and on the wing when you're helping a guy play side. It was beautiful, amazing basketball to watch. And the play that he draws up against Purdue.
Man.
The inbounds play that they practiced the day before, knowing that they could have this possibility to Milos Uzan, it was just chef's kiss.
It was chess, because
Checkmate is what it was.
In order for that play to work, they had to count on the guard from Purdue to X out and leave the inbounder, which they knew he'd do as Cryer came around the screen. And if he doesn't move and chase Cryer, then you have Cryer for a wide open jumper. And if he does, then you saw what happened.
Milos Uzan is wide open on the inbounds.
Yeah.
And
Tugler flashes down, and that kid has to make a great pass, and he did. And Uzan has to establish both feet back in bounds, which he did. So that all had to be coached.
And he made the right read, Tugler did. Because
Yeah.
there's 3 reads on that play, and the second read was open too, but he saw Uzan, who was the first option. It was one of the most gorgeous inbounds plays I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And the execution on it was even better.
Perfect.
It was absolutely phenomenal. But let's hear from Kelvin Sampson after that Tennessee game, because he references a little bit, this is the stat that you used last night on Max Sports, Chuck. He references a little bit that they had to travel over 1,000 miles to Indianapolis and basically play 2 road games against Purdue, who is in Indiana.
That was really unfair.
And Tennessee, who is just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Balances out now, though, doesn't it?
Let's hear it.
I think we've won 30-plus games 5 times, but this is the first time we've won 34 games. And I'm glad this team did it. This was the maturity level of our older guys has been good for our young guys. Awesome for Tennessee. It's a jump on the interstate and get here. But that's what we'll do next week. We'll jump on the interstate and we'll head down to San Antonio. So that's why you don't complain, because it can flip the other way. Proud of our guys for finding a way to win. We beat 2 outstanding programs, not just teams, great programs here this week in Purdue and Tennessee.
The little smile that he has when he says, now we'll just head on the freeway down to San Antonio. It's just so good.
They were here in 2022 in the regional and lost, by the way, to Villanova. But the Coug Nation did show up, and they'll show up again Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it was an impressive performance. It's not easy to beat a Matt Painter coached team in Purdue. That spread, I think, ended up at 9, and they needed that insane Milos Uzan inbounds play to win it. Tennessee is no schlub. That whole run that Houston made, you had to beat Gonzaga in the second round.
Yeah.
Like, you had to go through Mark Few, Matt Painter, and Rick Barnes. Like, that's no easy trip.
and they got some real tested along the way. All of them were tests.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the game against Gonzaga, we got to a 2-point game with 1 minute left.
They had the ball. Gonzaga had the ball in their hands to tie it up on the last possession.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he's talked about, Coach Sampson has, I should say, that they've been battle tested all year doing this stuff, playing on the road and playing in tough environments. And, obviously, I would think if you can overcome what they were able to overcome, especially with the history that Coach Sampson has at Indiana, you're probably feeling pretty darn good about yourself coming into this game against Duke.
So they're going to be playing Duke, as you just mentioned. Duke is the favorite right now to win it all. I think they're plus 100. Houston is the 3rd favorite to win it right now, or has the 3rd worst odds to win it right now. Don, what impresses you most about this Duke team, since you're the one that's more intimately familiar with them than either Chuck or I?
Well, if you talk to coaches, and Jay Wright said this on the broadcast, Duke is incredibly tall, long, and skilled. And so there's no secret that Cooper Flagg's going to be the number 1 pick. Con Knippel is slotted between 7 and 9. Malawach is slotted between 10 and 12. Sion James is slotted around 14, 15. And Isaiah Evans is supposed to be in the first round, like 24. They have 5 first-round picks this year on that team. That tells you all you need to know as far as talent. But they're so big, and this is why I don't think it's a great matchup for Houston.
It's not.
Is because Jawan Roberts is Houston's biggest guy at 6'8". And he's physical, and he's really good in the low post with that spinning left hand. But Duke comes off the bench with Bonga, who's another 7-footer, a freshman. Their size is what makes Nate Oates and every other team and their length and their ability to guard, and as Chuck said, their connectivity defensively as a team that's come together. Flagg is a tremendous individual defender, and Knepel is as tough as they get. So, I mean, on paper, I think they beat Houston, but Houston's quick, Houston's bouncy, and Houston is streaky. And if Sharp and Cryer and Wilson are on from three, I could see Houston winning. But I would think the odds would be in Duke's favor because they're going to be able to pound and punish Houston inside with Malawach, Flagg, and Bonga, and just their length.
Francis comes off the bench now for Houston, and he had a great game against Tennessee, especially once Juwan Roberts, or J1 if you want to pronounce it J1, Juwan Roberts got into foul trouble. 2 early fouls, I think, with like the 14.5-minute mark in that Tennessee game. And Francis comes in and plays arguably better than Roberts was playing.
Yeah.
So having that come off the bench is something that Kelvin Sampson's going to have in his bag and be able to kind of whip that out as the wild card to compete with the Bongas and all that stuff. So, Chuck, if you had to pick a winner of this game right now, who would you think is going to win the game?
It would be Duke, but I'm just mesmerized with the effort and tenacity of U of H every single time they take the floor, and they just keep coming. It doesn't matter what the score is. It's like this force of nature that just can't be stopped. So Duke, they're pretty, man. They've got everything that you want. They look great on tape when you watch them. And Houston, I don't know, there's just that extra junkyard dog that I don't know that's measurable, but you see it, and it's pretty doggone
To me, the game
evident.
comes down to three-point shooting. I mean,
Good, yeah.
Houston is statistically one of the best by percentage shooting teams in the country. I think they shoot it at they have 3 guys that shoot it over 42% between Cryer and Sharp and Wilson. Actually, it's not Wilson; it's another guy. But Duke ranks top 5 in both offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency per KenPom. So it's going to come down to, okay, Houston is the best defensive team in the country. Duke is really good at defense too, and Duke can make threes at an abundant rate, and Houston can make threes at an abundant rate. So who shoots the best and who plays the best perimeter defense is what the game is going to come down to.
Yeah, and Houston being a veteran team too, I don't know, how are teams going to react in the environment? I mean, you're playing in a dome stadium. I mean, all these factors that, maybe teams aren't used to, or their youth, or being in something like as big as a Final Four. I mean, all those are variables that, we're not going to know until we see them step out on the court.
And to that point, man, Chuck and I have been around a long time. One thing I learned from the great Al McGuire, late great Al McGuire, who's been passed a long time. He said back, and I think I probably heard him say it back when Magic and Bird were going against each other. His money is always on senior guards, right? L.J. Cryer won a national championship with Baylor like 100 years ago, like in 2021, right?
Yeah.
And Roberts is a 6-year guy. So even though Malawach is bigger, better, and on the draft board, and same with Cooper Flagg, Flagg had his moments the other night where he made dumb freshman mistakes. And does Cryer, Roberts, and those veterans in a tournament like Chuck was talking about, that could matter. And talent sometimes doesn't always win when you have experienced guys like that.
To that point, Houston twice this tournament had been up about 6 to 8 points on Gonzaga and on Purdue, and it became close at the end because they made mistakes and they weren't able to make shots. What I was impressed by is against Tennessee. Tennessee got it to a 9-point game with a few minutes left. I think it was like 5 or 6 minutes left. And then Houston goes on a 9-0 run, and they run away with it.
I
was impressed.
Yeah.
I was impressed by the resilience against Tennessee, who arguably was the best team they had faced in this tournament so far.
IU, because, we were watching the game yesterday. It's like, okay, here they come. And every single time, U of H had an answer.
Yep.
Every single time. Before that snowball became part of an avalanche, they were there to quell the fire every single time.
That was the same with Duke and Alabama.
I need a quick shout out real quick before we get to the next 2 teams to John Shire as well. What he's done taking over for Mike Krzyzewski, who is the all-time win leader in college basketball, is just absolutely insane. Nobody gets put into that situation and does what he has done. John Wooden, when he left UCLA, they had 4 coaches in 10 years. When Bobby Knight left Indiana, they had 6 coaches since he left. Like, nobody does that.
Shout out Justin Robinson chipping in too, right?
Absolutely. Let's get to Florida real quick. So the win against Texas Tech was one of the most unbelievable things I've seen in recent memory. They were down 9 with 3:14 left, and I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. The big center who shoots the lights out, Hauk. It's not spelled like Hauk, but it's pronounced Hauk, so I always get it wrong. Hauk hits 2 threes, and then Walter Clayton puts on a Superman costume. And
Totally.
oh my God. The shots that he made in that game, and then obviously the 2 missed front-end free throws from Texas Tech were absolutely massive. If you make just one of those in each, then they probably don't get a 3, or you at least have 2 more points on your resume. But the shots that Walter Clayton hits, I'm sitting there just like, what?
Steph at the end of the Olympics
I was just about to say, I had the same reaction to Walter Clayton hitting the shot that put them up 78-77 and tied the game at 75-75 that I did when Steph made that dagger 3 in the Olympics. I was just sitting there like, who is this
because he's
kid?
in the lane and turns and runs the opposite direction.
Yeah, all
and
momentum's going the other way.
And as soon as he hit the 3-point line, he spun on a dime and
put him up 78-77. The rest was history. Like, Tech could not, and then the JT Toppin 3 was an ill-advised shot. But what Florida did, I tweeted it out. You have to kill them 10 different ways to put them in the ground. This team can score 10 points in a second. They did it against UConn too. The 2 threes that Walter Clayton hit against UConn were unbelievable. They should have lost to UConn. They were the worst team in that game. They should have lost to Tech. They were the worst team in that game. But Walter Clayton Jr. became Superman in the last 4 minutes
at the end of the SEC tournament.
And that's what worries me a little bit, is for Florida at least, is are you going to be able to do that against Auburn? Are you going to be able to do that against Duke? Are you going to be able to do this against Houston?
I think he can do it against anybody, honestly. I mean, small sample size, obviously, right? This kid is on the radar after what we've seen him do here of late. But, yeah, it's like I think Pop would say he understands spatial relations very well.
The kid just goes thermonuclear from 3 and brings his team all the way back.
Beast mode.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a lot of times it feels like in the tournament, that you ride the hot hand and the guy with the hottest guy, or the team with the hottest guy, wins. And Florida definitely has the hottest guy right now.
I showed Chuck his SEC championship game where he made the full court pass, that rebound bounced off to the side, and he just in one motion grabs it and leads a guy perfectly. He played quarterback in high school, and he reminds me so much of Jason Kidd in the way a cross between Kidd and Steph. His court vision and his mastery of the assist is a lot like Jason Kidd, and then his shot is a quick release, a lot like Steph. I don't know what he is at the next level, but he sure is fun to watch. He just knows how to play.
They're the first semifinal game on Saturday, 5:09 tip. Who wins the game? Auburn is currently 2.5-point underdogs. Bruce Pearl's Auburn team, 2.5-point dogs to this Florida team.
I'm going to go with Florida. I think size wins again. They've got 2 7-footers inside, and Hauk can stretch the floor. Their guards are really good. That 15 swingman.
For Florida?
Yeah. Number 15.
Forget his name.
McMillan or something like that. Anyway, he's really, really good. I like Florida. I'm a little worried about the hyperextension of the right elbow. I know he's left-handed, but that was a nasty hyperextension.
I thought he was done.
He thought he was done.
Yeah, he said he was done.
I'm sure that thing today is a lot worse than it was yesterday.
For John Ibroom is who's
John Ibroom of Auburn. I'm going with Florida.
I would go with Florida, too. I'm just curious, too, like the whole coaching dynamic in this one, too, because the way I understand it, I think the Auburn coach got his first job under Bruce Pearl. So there's a history there.
You mean the Florida coach?
The Florida coach, sorry, yes. So, yes.
You're going Florida as well?
Todd Golden.
Yes.
I'm going to go Houston and Auburn because that's what my bracket has, and that's what I need to win the whole damn thing. Because Dez has Houston as well, so I need Houston to get there, but I also need Auburn to get there.
Shout out Dez.
Shout out Dez. She's listening right now. I'm sure. I'm going to get a text from her in like a minute. Anyway, so it comes down to John Ibroom's elbow and how healthy he is, and then can Todd Pettiford go crazy.
I like him.
I love Pettiford. He's so good. All right, let's get to the Spurs real quick. Actually, do you have anything, Bob, before we move on?
Yeah, quick question from a user called July. Any players playing in the Final Four other than Cooper who we could possibly be interested in being on the Spurs in the future?
All you done?
Yeah, Con Knipple and Malawach, the 7'2" guy, both expected to go in the top 12. The Spurs will pick somewhere between probably 8, and they'll have 2 picks like between 8 and 14 if everything goes to order. And I would love, and I think there's a lot of people in Spurs Nation that would love to see Knipple go to the Spurs at like 8 if he's available. He's a lot like Austin Reeves of the Lakers. He's a sniper from 3. And the kid, I saw him in person early in the season, and he looked like a freshman. Now he looks like a senior. He's put on about 15 pounds. And he was the best player on the court in that game the other night against Alabama. Mm-hmm. I think he was better than Cooper Flagg. He set the tone for Duke defensively, toughness, shot making. He was really, really good. I'd like to see the Spurs get him.
I'd love to see the Spurs get Malawach. They need size.
Yeah.
So
I think Knipple, though, they got some good nicknames.
I really just don't want them to draft because I won't be able to do a straight face on a sportscast. I won't. I'm not mature enough for this.
It's easy. I fixed it.
I'm not mature enough for this.
I do not pronounce it N-I-P. I pronounce it N-E-P.
I'm still not mature enough.
Con Knipple.
I can't do it. Anyway, anything else, Bob? No. All right. Spurs lose last night, 148-106. Now their 4th straight. They've lost to the Pistons, the Cavs, the Celtics, and the Warriors in back-to-back games. This is after they won 3 straight and got themselves in the mix in the play-in. This isn't a surprise, though, guys. As we kind of referenced last Monday, they have the most brutal ending stretch of games that I've seen in quite a while. And so then now they have 8 left. They're hopelessly out of it. So what are your thoughts on the Spurs before we get to the Steve Kerr comments?
Get it over with as soon as possible. Get Steph the Rookie of the Year award and get Wemby healthy, and let's move on.
Yeah, they're down 5 with 9 to go, and they're chasing 3 teams. Obviously, that's a tall order, but, I think there's still been some bright spots through all this. I mean, they're playing better together. They're playing harder for longer stretches of time. There have been a lot of achievements even through this rough patch here the last couple of weeks. I mean, you're just really seeing what playoff teams look like this time of year. I mean, they're longer, they're a little more athletic, they're a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, go right down the list. But, again, it's been fun kind of watching them go through this and still compete, which is, I think, all we could ask for when things really started to turn south for them health-wise.
Yeah, the games against the Pistons, the Cavs, and the Celtics are all good games until the very end. I mean, last night notwithstanding, they lost by 42 last night, but that one was not one of their better showings. But the other 3 that they've had since then on the losing streak have been better showings.
And I think going forward, I think Harrison Barnes has really proven that he's got something left in the tank for his final year of his contract next year. And I think you would even consider, depending on the price and how it fits in the cap and all that, I think you would consider Chris Paul for another year. I thought he was much better than I expected him to be. I expected him to be great off the court and a mentor, but he was really good on the court for long stretches of the season.
The fact that he's played in every game this season is actually bonkers at his age.
Yeah, good on him too, right? That's another lesson too for a lot of players.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to get to the Steve Kerr comments before we get out of here. So last night, Steve Kerr was asked about his relationship with Coach Pop, if he's seen him while he was in town since the Warriors were here, obviously. This is what he had to say about that.
Coach Pop, you've been able to see his mentorship up close, and now that his future is uncertain, have you been able to speak to him or have any conversations with him?
Yeah, we've stayed in touch. I went and saw him today, and he looks great, doing great, and he's one of the most important people in my life. So hoping that everything continues to progress, and but it was wonderful to see him.
The Spurs kind of have had a challenging season without Coach Pop. How difficult do you think it is for a young team to navigate without that type of leadership?
Yeah, I mean, it's Pop has basically been, the leader of the franchise for 26, 27 years, whatever it is. And that's a huge loss. I think their coaching staff with Mitch, they're doing a great job. And They have stayed competitive. Tonight was a one-off. This was not indicative of how they've been playing.
Steve Kerr, I believe everyone was able to hear that. We weren't able to for the first 30 seconds or so, but Steve Kerr commenting saying that he is that Pop is one of the most important people in his life. What does that say about their relationship and how close Steve is still to this franchise, Don?
Well, he was this guy as his first assistant on the Olympic team. That tells you everything you need to know. Steve is a trusted confidant of Coach Pop. They have similar ideals, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was a candidate when and if Pop decides to hang it up. But yeah, they've been close for many years, and I think Steve is one of the best guys going. So it doesn't surprise me that Pop would see him, because Pop is not seeing very many people, and the fact that he saw Steve. And also Chuck, he texted Kelvin Sampson after the game, and Sampson thought that was really meaningful.
He being Pop.
Yeah, I mean, and Coach Sampson shared the message with the assembled media there in Indianapolis after the ball game, and he said, I got like 400 or 500 texts, and he goes, let me see if I can find it. So it took him a while to scroll through all the well wishes that were coming Coach Sampson's way, and he said essentially the same thing, which is I don't think of Pop as a friend. I think of him as family, and what he's meant to Pop. I mean, they were both assistants on a national team in the early 2000s, and when Coach Sampson resigned from Indiana, Pop was the one that brought Kelvin Sampson to the NBA when he was going through a little tough time and not knowing if he wanted to go to the pros or staying in college. And so Coach Sampson wasn't here long in San Antonio. I believe he went to Milwaukee after that and became an assistant coach, and then went on to Houston for more assistant coaching jobs. But, obviously doing very well in the college ranks, and you could probably coach in the pros as well. But that bond that those guys forged decades ago, it hasn't gone away. And Pop sent him a nice message about enjoy the win with a glass of nice wine.
You see that a lot, though, like with guys that Pop either coached or coached with or anything like that. Like, as soon as you're part of the Spurs organization and as soon as you meet Coach Pop, he might not be the friendliest in terms of media and stuff like that, but that's not what it's about for him. It's about the relationships that he builds inside the game and with the people in his organization, with the people outside of the organization in the basketball family. And you see that consistently whenever people talk about Coach Pop. It's always, he's a dad to me, he's a coach to me, he's a family member to me. And that's why it's so important when we speak about this to say it's about Coach Pop's health first. And basketball always comes later.
I don't know how many times we've seen a guy get fired in the NBA and then see him at Spurs practice a couple weeks later and hang out for a week or a month. When Monty Williams' wife, Ingrid, died in that car wreck in Oklahoma City, Pop said, Monty quit, and he said, come home, bring your kids home, the grandparents are here, we'll give you a job. And he gave Monty a job and told him a salaried position with benefits and everything, and said, I don't want to ever see you up here. Be with your kids. And Monty was a consultant, and he's done that. Tibbs, I remember Tom Thibodeau. Sampson, when he left Indiana, was a pariah. Nobody wanted to touch that guy after all the recruiting scandal, and as much was in the media.
Yeah, also the recruiting scandal was him calling on the phone high school players, something that would never be punished now.
Yeah, right.
By the way,
and he was like, yeah, exactly. And Pop first to wrap his arms around him. We know you're the pariah. We got a spot for you. And that stuff means so much to those guys. Alvin, my ex-brother-in-law, who got fired by the Clippers, and within 2 days, he was hired as it was Detroit. He was fired by Detroit. And within 2 days, he was Pop's first assistant in the summer of 2002, 03, and didn't end up coaching that year because he got the Clippers job. But as soon as he got fired at Detroit, it's like, come on. He already had a first assistant, but he made room for his guys. And Mike Brown will tell you the same thing, and on, the Chad Forciers and the Joe Prunties and all those guys. Once you're in the family, you're in the family.
Yeah, I wanted to get that in today because it speaks a lot to Coach Pop's character, because there's so much stuff out there that people don't know about Coach Pop because of his privacy, which he deserves.
And his public persona, he comes across as a jerk a lot of times.
Yes. Anyway, that's all we got for you today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Enjoy the VTO. Enjoy the Final Four weekend. We have it's going to be 3 great games. We'll talk about the championship on our Monday podcast. Remember, no podcast on Thursday. Everyone have a great week. Mom, happy birthday. We'll see you all next week.
Aw.